Part 3. Transcending the Past. Chapter 19. Something New and Different. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. Wayne Dyer. I had never lived on my own or alone, having gone from home with my mom, right into my first marriage and then children. I had been taking care of everyone and had neglected myself. Arriving into my spiritual environment, I started to learn about taking care of me, a concept I hadn't had time to think about over the years. My early life had started out taking care of my mother's emotional needs, then not being in touch with my own, to having a husband and children and their needs, to eventually taking care of my father's needs. I became familiar with the concept of self-care over the years and tried to incorporate little habits or practices that made me feel like I was nurturing myself. But really, just being by myself and taking care of only me? What a concept! Wow, I now had choices. I was free like the phoenix rising up out of the ashes. A weight had been lifted. I had left the marriage and left behind 30, 40, 50 pounds of pain that had accumulated from lack of sleep. There's now evidence of the connection between sleep, stress, and weight, but that's another book. Unresolved issues and mountains of stress. The sadness of having lost both of my parents, along with the pain my childhood had caused, and the irony that I had been the one that they chose to see them through their last days. Even if my perfectionism had judged my attempts as inadequate, did not lose its significance in my soul. I sensed I had reached a completion, even feeling that on a soul level there had possibly been an even greater scope to it. Perhaps a past life karmic debt had been paid. For the first time in my life, and this was big for me, I moved into a lovely apartment, all by my big girl self. There was no one or nothing to take care of except me, myself, and I. Well, a few plants out on the balcony. No other adults, no kids, no pets, no household repairs. I felt alive and healthy once again. For the first time in the history of my roller coaster weight gain and loss, I hit my goal weight. Something had always stood in the way of just reaching that magical number. What a feeling! I had my health, my wonderful work, and one of many new perspectives, the perspective of learning to draw boundaries and give myself extreme self-care. Did I feel selfish about it? No, thankfully, an indication that I was on the continuous road to loving myself, and that had felt selfish in the past. Some people don't like living alone, ever. I did. I had never known what it was like to live alone until this stage in my life. I always knew that I wanted relationship love, and at times, not having had that made me feel lonely, although I had had my children most of my life, and that was my greatest joy. You can also feel lonely within a relationship, and that happens, as it did with me, and I'm sure countless other relationships. But this new experience was exhilarating. There was a sense of freedom I had never known.